Okay, good morning. Hi, I'm Pam Fox. Thanks for tuning in this morning. I'm going to introduce my juice this morning. This is a smoothie juice, but it's got a lot of water in it. I filled the whole blender. I filled 2 of these mason jars. This is about, I would say 3 to 4 frozen bananas, 4 large handfuls of spinach, and some of the Barlean's digestive blend that I shared last week, which, by the way, I noticed when I was eating my oatmeal a couple of days ago with the Barlean's in there, some whole flax seeds at the bottom of the bowl. And so it is a ground product, which means the flax seeds have been ground. They're not just thrown in there whole, but they miss a few. So what I did was I just ended up putting it in my blender and further grinding it into a powder, which does make it a little bit more processed, but I just do a little bit at a time and use it quickly, like probably make enough for 2 to 3 days worth of additions to your smoothies or your oatmeal, just to make sure you're getting the most out of that flax. The flax as a whole seed will go right through your whole body if it's not, crushed up a little bit, because your digestive system can't digest seeds. So the benefit from the flax seed comes from the omega-3 oils that are within the seeds, so they need to be crushed up or processed. So, and also in this is some of the mixed berries that I got at Costco. Pretty good. I did, however, add, this is a product that I use. Research it and do with it what you will. I like it. This is stevia sweet drops with vanilla cream. I'm a little bit leery about these products. This one's got organic stevia leaf extract, vanilla extract, and natural flavors. So I'm always a little like, when it comes to natural flavors, like, what is that? But the reason I like it is because when I make a juice or a smoothie and it's just not quite sweet enough, I can add that, just a couple of drops of this, and it will sweeten it up. I mean, you might be better off just to stick with plain old organic sugar. I don't know, but that's something that I use, and it just sweetens it up a little bit. And it's really good in, rice dishes or tapioca dishes. Vegan, of course, but to add that kind of vanilla sweetness. So anyway, this morning I want to talk about, this month in July, we're doing the 30-day Crush Your Fitness Goals Challenge. And so I really just want to touch bases with you guys periodically through the month and just offer kind of some of the things that are on my mind in terms of, my journey, my exercise journey, things that have helped me, things that have inspired me, and just things that come up as the days go by that I can share that will hopefully help motivate you, inspire you, and keep you on track. So the last couple of days I've been thinking about, this idea of balance, and I talked a little bit about that last week, how I'm a student at the Institute for Integrative Nutrition, and one of the foundations of our school is the circle of life, in which life is kind of divided into 12 categories of wellness. And so it's when we have a balance in each of those categories is where we can feel our best and achieve optimal wellness. So some examples I gave were, like if a person dedicates all their time and energy to their work, but they neglect their family, then there's that imbalance. Or, there's a lot of examples, maybe you're neglecting your relationship, or maybe you're neglecting your health. So there's, the 12 different areas, and we're taking a different area each month and doing a fun 30-day challenge, just to help you focus on that area of your life, to see if there's room for improvement in that area of your life, which, all of us have room to improve in all areas of our lives, I'm sure. But it's by looking at these different components of life and really taking the time to discover, are there areas that I'm really neglecting? And is that even important? For me, for example, like I found that the area where I need the most, like that I neglect the most, is my social life. Like I don't spend a lot of time cultivating friendships, spending time with a social calendar, going out and doing things with friends. I don't really feel the need to because I'm around people all the time. I have a strong, family bond. I'm surrounded by people all the time, every day at work. I have a lot of social interactions. So I don't really feel a desire for social activity. In fact, I usually tend to, avoid it because I do get so much social interaction. However, I do believe that a day could come where I will look back and wish I would have cultivated deeper, more intimate friendships. Because it's an important part of life, those deep, intimate bonds with with our fellow man, and not just, with your spouse or your children or your parents. And so, that's something that I need to work on. And we will have a month where we will do a 30-day challenge in the area of our social well-being. I haven't figured out what that's going to be yet, but I have a few ideas. But anyway, getting back to this balance and striking this balance within our life. So one of the things I wanted to kind of help you think about this morning was if you take a look at the waking hours of the week. So there's 24 hours in a day. Let's imagine that we sleep for 8 of those. So that leaves 16 hours in the day times 7. So that's 112 waking hours in a given 7-day week. So how much of those 112 hours do we spend exercising? How many of those 112 hours a week do we spend exercising? Well, for some people, the answer might be 0, And then for others, I was just reading a story about a woman who exercises something like 8 hours a day. I mean, she's obsessive compulsive about it. And so again, there's that imbalance. We would look at a person like that and think, she's crazy. And she definitely has a problem, but there's an imbalance. She's putting all of her dedication into her physical appearance, and specifically through exercise. And then you have people who put a lot of energy into their physical appearance by spending a lot of time at the salon and shopping for clothes and shoes and all of these, injections and implants and all of that. And so we look at people like that sometimes and we think they're a little bit crazy. But again, it's just that imbalance. They're dedicating all of their energy into one area of their life. And maybe it's the physical appearance. And so we have 112 waking hours in the week. And so I want you to think about this and think about, if you're exercising 0 out of those 112 hours and you really know you should be exercising, you'd like to be exercising, just think of it in terms of time. Like, could you afford 1 hour out of those 112 hours of your 7-day week? If you were to go for a walk for 20 minutes 3 times a day, that's 1 hour of that 112 waking hours of your week. So when you put it into perspective like that, it really doesn't seem, I know a lot of times people say I just don't have time to exercise. But what I really want to talk about today is not the idea that I don't have time to exercise, but just the idea that I just don't have anything left to give. This idea that, when it comes to exercise or really anything in life, time, more to give, to my social life, more to give to my relationship, more to give to my family, more to give to my work. What about like hobbies, things that we really want to do, things that give us enjoyment? Do we have more to give to those things? And when it comes to exercise, which is, I want to keep the focus on that for this month, exercise, when you can incorporate an exercise into your life, not only are you, bettering your physical health through doing that, you're actually going to make your body stronger and have more endurance to be able to give more to other areas of your life. And I've found this to be so true in my life. So I've definitely had imbalances throughout my entire life, my adult life. I mean, I can look back to when my kids were little, and while I really tried to be there for my kids, and I was there for my kids, like I tried to be at the events and be involved in programs and, get them where they needed to go and make sure they were, up to date on all of, their activities and, doctor's appointments and dentist appointments and haircuts and, drum lessons and singing lessons and all of that. The busyness. Most days at the end of the day, I didn't even cook for my kids because I just didn't have anything left to give at the end of the day. So I usually just kept the refrigerator stocked with, string cheese and yogurt and, sandwich meats and cheeses and, canned food so they could kind of fend for themselves most days. And that's one of my great regrets, is that I didn't cook for my kids very much when they were growing up, and that they grew up eating, really a lot of junky foods. I didn't think that was the case at the time, but I know better now. And so, that foundational period of their life, of development, they weren't eating optimal nutrition. So I really wish that I would have had more to give to them in terms of that. But because there was that imbalance, most days I would come home and I would just be spent and I wouldn't cook, just grab a yogurt and that would be my dinner. And so, for me, obviously going on a plant-based diet was what started this whole, having newfound energy and healing, all of that great stuff. But it was when I added the exercise, which I wouldn't have been able to really add the exercise if it hadn't been for getting my diet cleaned up. So that's really got to be first. But when I added in the exercise, I really started to know a difference in, obviously, my strength, my physical strength and my physical endurance, so that I would have more to give in other areas of my life. And I really noticed that this year. Just last week was the 4th of July, and I have a tradition every year on the 4th of July where I load up our work van with decorations and food and supplies and all the people that want to go be in the local hometown 4th of July parade. And typically at the end of that day, when I get everyone back, it's just, we don't walk in the parade. Well, some years we have, but some years we have a combination of walkers and people who ride in the bus, and I drive the bus. But it's just a long day of loading all the supplies in the bus and then going down and then decorating the bus and up and down the ladder. And, I've got all these people I'm responsible for. And it may not sound like much, but it's just a lot of running and, organizing and rushing. And usually at the end of that day, I'm just exhausted and my feet are killing me. And we unload the bus and get in my car and go home and sleep the rest of the day. That's been my tradition. Well, this year I really noticed a difference because it was about a year ago, a little more than a year ago, that I started running. And I'm not here to promote running. That's not what this is about at all. Everybody needs to do the exercise where they're at. In fact, if you do too much too soon, you're going to injure yourself, and that's not healthy. Being injured is not healthy. Or being injured to the point where you just give up exercise is not healthy either. So it's really important that you pick an exercise that's appropriate for you. So I'm not here to promote running, but for me, I started my plant-based diet about 3 years ago, and then I started incorporating exercise a few months after that. And I started with walking, yoga. And then after a couple years, I started running. And so I've been running this past year. And so this year at the 4th of July parade, I noticed that my feet didn't hurt. I noticed that I was able to go without getting tired. When we got back, I unloaded everybody, brought their stuff back to their apartments, unloaded the bus, put everything away. Then I came home. I did a few chores around the house. My daughter came over. We had dinner. And then she and I went down to the beach because they have, crazy fireworks down at the beach. And we walked on the boardwalk. We must have walked, 2 or 3 miles on the beach and got home, in time for bedtime, which is 9 o'clock. So it was a long day, and I was able to have all of that to give. And I owe it all, well, primarily to, my diet, but that strength and endurance came from the exercise that I've been doing. So the point I want to make today is when we incorporate exercise into our life and start to build up that stamina and strength, physical strength, we're going to have more to give in all the areas of our life, so that we don't become, the type of person who's just doing the bare minimum, who's going to work every day so they can pay the bills, and that's all they have to give. And then, you're exhausted after that and you don't have anything left. And so, that's a really great place to be. And it's where, I hope for, my friends and loved ones. I wish that, so I know a lot of people who, you know, when I tell these stories, I know that everyone can't relate to this. Some of you are probably perfectly healthy and you have no idea what I'm talking about. But I'm talking to, you know, those of you who totally know what I'm talking about, where you get home at the end of the day and you're spent and you've got nothing left to give. And there's a lot of things that you would like to do. Maybe you have, you know, interests or hobbies or talents or skills that you just let go of because you just don't have anything left to give. So that's it. I want to encourage you guys today to continue with your challenge and not give up, because I know it's really easy to kind of fall off the wagon and think, oh yeah, I tried, I couldn't do it, I give up. So if that happens, again, and this can apply to all areas of life, when you fall off your horse, you know, they tell you to get back on the horse. And that is so true in life. And it applies to this challenge as well. One of my challenges was I was going to ride my bike to work on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. Well, today's Monday and I'm not riding my bike to work, but I'm not going to beat myself up over it. And I'm not going to say, you know, I'm a big fat failure and I might as well just not even try. I'm going to say, you know what can I learn from this experience? I happen to have a errand I have to run today, so I'm going to need my car. So it's okay. And then I recommit to that. I recommit to, you know, Wednesday. Wednesday will be the day. And no matter how many times I fail at this commitment, at this challenge, I look for the lessons in that, and then I recommit to it. Okay? So, you know, in anything in life, when we fail, if we decide that we're a failure, we tell ourselves we're a failure, we tell ourselves we can't do it, then that is what we become. Remember, we become what we think. And so really it's all about learning from those failures and then recommitting to your original commitment. Okay? All right, so that's it for today, and that is it for today. Thank you so much for being here, and we'll see you next time.